favorite DFS and sports betting plays on tonight's slate. Start with your favorite DFS play at center. Geoff, who are you going to go with?
I think you just pay up for Sidney Crosby here. I mean, Crosby coming back into form after obviously, the COVID and the wrist injury. But you look at his last 4 games, it's a short-term thing, but you've got to keep an eye when elite players start to shoot the puck a little bit more. He's got 4 points now in his last 2 games as well. Pittsburgh coming off a bad loss to Montreal. And look, I think everyone might shy away from Crosby here just because of the matchup with Calgary. But Markstrom, a goalie, I mean, certainly capable of just like throwing in a few bad games. Certainly due for a little bit of regression as well. I think you got to pay up for Crosby on this short slate just because that production's really been there over his last few games.
All right, what do you think, Paul?
I play the elimination game here, Jesse. I will avoid the Canucks and Canadian centers in that toilet bowl matchup this evening. I feel like the top Flame centers and Crosby will negate one another in a tough matchup that will feature great goaltending, so I'll fade them. I don't trust the expansion level rosters of both Seattle or Buffalo, so I'm left with the Winnipeg centers in a mismatch against their opponent tonight, the Coyotes. That means that I'll be rostering both Dubois and Scheifele, who are respectively priced at $6,700 and $6,400 each.
All right, AJ, who's your favorite DFS play at center?
Well, Paul's been giving me a hard time about not using my Penguins lately, and today that ends. I'm all in with Geoff here in using Sidney Crosby. For all the reasons that Geoff highlighted, add into the fact in the 16 games that Crosby has faced the Flames in his career, he's got 13 goals plus another 10 assists. That's really, really good numbers, 23 points in 16 games against the Flames. Yeah, Markstrom's been having a good year, but the Penguins are rolling right now, and it's all because of their captain, Sidney Crosby.
All right, move it on over to the wing, Paul. Who are you going with?
Well, remember my strategy for baseball DFS, Jesse? I would always go to the power hitters who were on hot streaks. The same strategy will apply for me tonight. With my cheap centers in place, I can afford to pay up for Winnipeg's Kyle Connor, who has 6 goals and 2 helpers, along with an amazing 49 shots on goal in his last 10 games. That'll cost me $7,600. I also don't mind going to the other side of that matchup to pick up the Pens' Jake Gunsel for $7,300 in that same tilt. He's been similarly productive with 5 goals, 10 points, and 46 shots on goal in his last 10 games. With that Winnipeg stack plan tonight, I will also fit in Blake Wheeler in a low $4,800 price point, as he's just starting to find his lane as a productive top 6 winger. He's been that way throughout his career, and he's coming back to normal after some time on the shelf. And finally, the Canadians will be looking to their emotional leader, Brendan Gallagher, to pick them up after the off-ice management changes that took place over the weekend.
All right, AJ, who are you going with on the wing?
Well, look, 4 of the 5 teams allowing the most goals per game in November are on this slate tonight. Like, there's a ton of bad defensive teams. So I think you can look outside of the normal teams you might look at here. And for me, that's the Seattle Kraken, and specifically Jordan Eberle tonight. He was previously bogged down in a mini 3-game slump, but he had a pair of goals against Florida on Saturday. He's not as pricey as, say, Kyle Connor and Jake Gunsel. You get a modicum of savings here at $6K. But look, there's a ton of guys you could use here. As I said, there's some really bad defensive teams playing tonight. All
right, Geoff, who you rolling with?
I like going to the Jets as well. I think Nikolaj Ehlers, though, in GPPs will probably be a slightly lesser owned than Kyle Connor. Ehlers is averaging almost 4 shots on goal per game over his last 10. You got the Coyotes. They take the most penalties in the NHL. They have a bottom 5 penalty kill. Ehlers is going to be out there on the power play. And, this is a player who's due for a little bit of positive regression. His shooting percentage well under his career average right now. If you want value, I also like Josh Anderson. I like the Montreal Forwards definitely against Vancouver tonight. Josh Anderson, very productive, playing on that top line right now with Christian Dvorak. And don't be afraid to target the Canadians, because as AJ alluded to, there's some pretty much every bad defensive team is on the slate.
All right, let's turn our attention to the sportsbook. AJ, what's the best money line bet on the slate?
Well, there's no surprise coming in for me on this one. I like the Penguins tonight at plus 125 value against the Flames. You've got Tristan Jarry playing absolutely lights out right now. Let's not forget that 6-goal loss on Saturday was backstopped by Casey DeSmith. And really, he only allowed 3 goals in that game. That trio of empty netters really kind of skewed what that game looked like when you actually watch what happened in that game. So to get really good value at plus 125 on the DK Sportsbook, I like the Penguins tonight.
All right, Geoff, what do we think? Best money line bet on the slate?
Well, as Paul alluded to, I'm going to go into the toilet bowl here with the Canucks and the Canadians, and I'm going to back the Canadians here as the home team. I mean, look, these teams are equally bad. I feel like the Canadians should be getting a little bit more respect as the home team. They're only minus 125. I like that. The Canadians have averaged 4 goals per game over their last 4 starts. Carey Price back on the ice, just skating with the team. That's a positive influence. They've gotten some of those management changes out. I just think that this is like the better team when you compare these two long term as well. Let's not forget the Canadians did go to the Stanley Cup Finals last year. I just think that they have a better balance up front as well. It's going to show tonight with the team playing slightly better against the Canucks team, which is just terrible at everything. So I think the Canadians are actually a really good money line play here.
All right, Paul, what do we think?
I agree with Jeff on that one. The Canadians will react positively to the management shakeup and defend their home court against a Canucks team that's just looking around, waiting for the same shoe to drop, and their focus will be elsewhere. So I say take the home side. I'm with Jeff. Minus 125 is a favorable payoff for me. And I also don't see why the Buffalo Sabres should be a home dog against the new club from Seattle. Even though the Kraken have won 3 of their last 4, Buffalo's looked pretty good in their last 2 games and should prevail here for a plus 130 payoff.
All right, Jeff, which game do you like to go over the total?
I'm going to go with this Winnipeg, Arizona one at over 5.5. I mean, look, the Jets, they've been a little bit snake bitten on offense. Like, they haven't really seen a breakout here. But I mentioned Nikolaj Ehlers, and Paul mentioned Kyle Connor. Like, this is just such a good spot for the Jets' top 6 forwards and just their top power play unit to get off here. You've also got, the Jets certainly defensively aren't really that good a team. They're not really good on the penalty kill either. The Coyotes have been playing a little bit better offensively. I think at 5.5, you got to take the over in this one because I just don't trust either team defensively enough to not, for one of them not to let in 4 goals. So I think this is a very good over bet here with the Jets and the Coyotes.
All right, Paul, what do we think?
I certainly don't think the Pittsburgh-Calgary game is primed to go over with those 2 outstanding goalies in place. The stout defense will prevail in that one. But I do like the Jets to roll over the Coyotes, as I indicated earlier, and Jeff's right on. That 5.5 line should fall early, and I would even go for a better payoff at the plus 6.5 to get 140 as the payoff for me. And I also think the offensive pieces in Seattle and Buffalo should combine to go over the 5.5 line in that game against suspect defenses and goalies on both sides.